And that's section A done. Now section A, you should remember, is for 40 whole marks. So if you've done that carefully and at the end of the paper you've double checked it, you should be able to get a full 40 in that. Okay, and then we move on to section B. Now when you start off section B, no matter where in the paper you are right now, even if you've written just 2 lines, start off section B on a new page. And from here on, every new question, now this is question number 2, when you go on to question number 3, move again to a new page. I know we talk about saving paper, but here it is more important to ensure that you present your paper in such a way that it is easy for the teacher who's correcting your paper to see where a particular question ends and the next one starts. Okay, so presentation, extremely important. Okay, this part says attempt any 4 out of the 6 questions. A suggestion, do only 4. Do not go in for the extra questions, because that means the teacher has to correct those extra questions as well. So rather than do that, during your reading time, identify your best 4 questions and do only those. Now this being a sample paper, I'm going to be doing all 6 of them for you. So we start off with question 2. Part A, write it down as in the question paper, and question 1. Now let's understand this question. It says on a bright sunny day, water weeds growing in an aquarium were seen actively giving off bubbles of a gas. Now, even before you've read the rest of the question, what should have popped into your head is water weeds, hydrilla, velisneria, elodia, and they're giving off bubbles of gas. Oxygen is being given out and photosynthesis is happening. So even before you've read your sub-questions, this should be running around in your head. Now let's read the question. It says, which process leads to the evolution of the air bubbles? Straightforward, it's photosynthesis. So we can write that down. Photosynthesis. And there's no harm writing the rest of the question down. Leads to the evolution of gas bubbles. Yeah. And underline the answer that would be looked out for. The next one says, give an equation to represent this process. Now, when you're giving an equation, very important, it should be a balanced equation. So for photosynthesis, it's 6CO2 plus 6H2O in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. You get glucose, which is C6H12O6, and there's a 6O2. And that's it. Complete, well-balanced equation. Okay. Move on to the third one. What do the bubbles consist of? We've already said that the bubbles consist of oxygen. Again, highlight your answer so that it's easy for the teacher to jump from one to the next. Makes a good impression as well. And state the importance of this process. Now, it does not say importance of this process to the plant in general. So, your answer should include how glucose is important and how oxygen is important. So, you can phrase it something like this, that photosynthesis helps in the production of glucose, which is a source of food for the plant, as well as most other heterotrophs. Which directly or indirectly depend on it. Now, we've spoken only about the glucose so far. How about the oxygen? The oxygen produced in this process is used for respiration. By most living organisms. Now, the same question can be asked in several different ways. For example, it could be asked as, a tiger owes its existence to chlorophyll. Explain. It's more or less the same answer, which has to be rephrased a little bit. Another one says, all living organisms depend directly or indirectly on photosynthesis. Explain. Comes down to the same thing. So we're okay with this one. Let's move on to the next one.